Hello, everybody. How y'all doing today? I guess we are live. Well, almost live. Oh, man. Okay, we are now live. Hey, everybody. Happy New Year. This is the final Hypnotic Sunday service of 2023. So that's pretty crazy. I hope everybody's been having a good New Year's Eve so far, and Happy New Year if you're seeing this in 2024 or if it's already turned 2024 where you are. I hope it's off to a great start. Um, excuse me. So I wanted to pop on today and talk about goals and New Year's resolutions because that is always something on people's minds, right? This time of the year, especially here at New Year's. Um, and I have the Resolute goal setting program, and I'll be starting that up again next week. Go to resolute.ebhypno.com to sign up and join me there. You can get instant access to the previous training I did on that, and if you're really serious about achieving your goals, you really want to check this out. And it's not just for New Year's resolutions. I mean, we all like New Year's resolutions because we have that calendar reset. So it's that boom, solid. This is day one. I'm going to start here and go. But when it comes to setting goals, things that we want to achieve, not just in the coming year, in the coming months, in the coming days, in the coming weeks, but like just in our lives. We need to really move away from thinking about it in terms of like, oh, it's just New Year's resolutions. Because if we are only thinking of setting our goals at New Year's, then it's so easy for us to just forget about it by the time next year rolls around, or just drop the ball at some point because everybody between January 19th and February 17th, that is when most of the people drop the ball on their New Year's resolutions. They just give up. Something happens. They go, oh, well, I'll get back to it. And they never do because they're locked in, associated with it having to be at New Year's. Um, and that's super common, right? It happens to the best of us. And I mean, even me, like I've had things projects I've started and then I've had to put down for whatever reason that I haven't gotten back to. Why? Well, it wasn't that important. It wasn't like high on my list of goal priorities. So, but if I really want to do it, then I have to go about it in a much different way than I did before. And, you know, when it comes to this process of goal setting and getting our goals, we want to look at it as, a process that we can do any time of the year, not just at New Year's, right? This is something we should constantly be doing, and we should really take the steps to make this process a part of who we are, what we do, creating a new habit out of it for our goals so we can do it any time of the year. We don't have to go, oh, okay, well, that'll be something for next year. I'll start that on January 1st. No, we don't have to do that. And, the thing is, a lot of times we will create goals. This is something, another reason why people drop New Year's resolutions a lot is because they have these negative stories that they tell themselves, these programs that can come up from the subconscious and keep them stuck, right? And we can change those. And a large part of this my Resolute workshop is changing those beliefs and those stories. And I love what happens when we get to that. Like, we'll start New Year's. Oh, I'm going to do this. But then we start looking at what we don't have. That's a negative thought pattern that comes up. Or we're comparing ourselves to others. Like there's this guy on Instagram. God, I can't remember his name, but really inspiring story. The guy's super overweight, and then he just started going to the gym. It's like, yeah, I want to be the same more. Made up his mind, and he's just been doing it, and he's lost over 100 pounds, and probably closer to 200 now. The guy is doing amazing stuff, great attitude, and he's just doing it. And there are people be like, "Oh, well, you're still overweight." It's like, yeah, I'm nowhere near what I was. Now, if that thought pattern comes up, oh yeah, well, I've been doing this, but I'm still overweight, and you're not appreciating the success that you've made, the the steps you've taken towards the ultimate goal that you have, then you're just looking at what you don't have. And that's a way the subconscious gets you to stop. So we need to look at our goals, write them in a way that they are a part of who we are, that our subconscious gets on board with it, and that we can eliminate those negative stories when they come up and identify them. Most importantly, is be able to recognize when it's a negative thought pattern or when maybe we are taking on a little too much, biting off more than we can chew, because that can happen too. Um, but something that's important with our goals is we should always be going back to them and revising them as we're working on them. And that can change from week to week. It can change from month to month. It can change from quarter to quarter. But, like I encourage people to sit down, write the goals down by hand, actually write it down on paper and meditate with them like 10 minutes a day. Read them and notice how you feel in the body when you read it. Do you feel good about it? Do you feel excited about it? Do you believe it? Or does it make you feel heavy? Does it make you feel anxious? Does it make you, bring up any of those heavy feelings of like apathy, grief, and fear? And, you know, the other thing is because other goals can come up on the way to a bigger goal. So, we might have to go down like a little side path that we didn't realize it was there, to do that. And especially like if you're an entrepreneur, that's something that you're going to run into a lot. You still have that ultimate goal at the end, but hey, maybe I should, uh, you know, stop and revise this a bit, update it for the new information, any of the sub goals that end up coming up that help you on the way to that ultimate one, because that will happen. And sometimes like people have a really big goal that they want to achieve for the year, but they're not prepared for to have to achieve a bunch of like smaller goals that are in service of that bigger one. So it feels like I'm not doing the thing that I really want to do. I'm not working towards it. I'm going someplace else. That can be a risk, but sometimes we have to do other things. And I've talked about this a lot with my use of social media, where I absolutely did not want to be using it. And now I do, because it's in service of a larger goal of being able to help more people. And I had a lot of resistance to being on Facebook, to being on social media. And I had to sit with that. I had to meditate on that. I had to spend a good chunk of time, or like, at least a couple of months, really meditating and doing self hypnosis, bringing up the stories that were associated with that, why this was, how it felt in my body, and releasing on that. So I could step into a place of courage and come on and do videos like this and talk to you and help show people the way to achieving their goals. A lot of this workshop came out of the work I was doing uh, in relation to that, actually. So this is really, really powerful stuff. The other thing that can really drag people down is, like I said, looking at others, comparing others' success to your own. And that's easy to do. Oh, yeah, I want to achieve what they've achieved. But you're not going to achieve what they achieve, because that's theirs. It's not yours. Right? We're all walking our own path here. We can model things and we can do that, but we also have to find our own way. There isn't like a magic formula. What you do is yours. What's right for you isn't going to be right for somebody else, and what's right for somebody else isn't going to be right for you necessarily. But that doesn't mean that you're not going to be able to achieve what you set out to do. You just don't want to compare yourself to others, because nobody's just like you, and you're not just like whoever you're comparing yourself to. um, the other thing we also have, with that kind of self comparison, comparing yourself to some sort of undefined goal, something unconscious that you haven't fully defined, but you're not there. And that's something like, oh, well, I feel like I should be further along. I feel like I should have done something else by now. And that's a negative thought pattern that comes up, and it will cause you to stop, because again, it's something that isn't clearly defined. It's a story that's coming up from the subconscious. You don't really know what it is. You can't quite put your finger on it. It's just a feeling. It's just a thought, but the reason that comes up is to convince you to stop working towards that goal, to relieve the tension that you're experiencing, the discomfort of going after a goal, because tension always seeks to resolve itself, and the subconscious is very resistant to change. So everything it does, it's meant to protect us. So it will keep us stuck in one place that doesn't serve our greater goals, because to it, the devil you know is much safer than the unknown that could bring you all the happiness that you want, you know. The other thing is, we humans have a negativity bias built in. This is just one of our cognitive biases. We have it. Again, it's a survival mechanism. We notice the things that annoy us, that threaten us, that aggravate us, that make us feel those things more than we do the happy things and the good things. We're going to remember, somebody cutting us off in traffic more than we're going to remember seeing like a pretty flower on the side of the road or something, or like a nice sunrise. That's going to be lower on the list of things that we recall when we look back on what we did on the day than something that had a kind of negative effect on us. And that's negativity bias. And we, along those lines, what will happen is we will do the same thing with the progress we've made. You know, we can make all sorts of steps towards the goals. Can get so much further than we were when we first started, but it can be so easy to just disregard that and just give up. And like, I think back, I've been doing self hypnosis for my synkinesis for a year now. And, I 2023, I achieved the ability to whistle again for the first time in 8 years. I didn't think that that was something that was ever going to happen. That was a big thing, and that happened like very early on. Once I like released a lot of heavy emotions and really started focusing my self hypnosis on it, boom, I got this big result right away. And I haven't seen a dramatic jump in things like that. And at that point, it'd be easy to just give up and just go, this isn't working anymore. I'm not doing that. What was I thinking? But the thing is, I have made progress. I get more and more symmetry back every day. And what I'm going for isn't a big gain. It's not something that's going to happen overnight, especially like, okay, if I've been like this for 9 years, I'm not going to expect everything to go back to normal in a day. I mean, the fact that I was able to whistle and that's continued to improve was amazing enough. I consider that to almost be a miracle. But I'm not going to disregard all of the other wonderful little progress I make. Because if we're making just 1% of progress a day, getting 1% closer to our goals every day, compounding interest is going to kick in. That's going to add up so much. And then before you know it, you're going to see huge, huge changes. And so that's what I keep telling myself with that. I'm not disregarding the progress I've made, which has been amazing, you know. But it's been that smaller progress, and that's okay because it's still progress. It's still something that I wasn't sure I would even be able to do. So don't disregard the growth that you've already experienced, that you've already gone through. And that's another big thing, like accepting the starting point where you're at. Um, yeah, another thing that stops people from reaching success in their goals is not having clear ones defined. And that's something I go over a lot in the Resolute workshop is how to write down and really define those goals in a way that works with the subconscious, that has a clearly identifiable endpoint. So we know, how do we know we've achieved it? And what do we say about it? How do we feel about it when we read it in the meantime? And can we make it easier in any way? If we don't have a clearly defined goal, like if it's, oh, I want to, yeah, I want to lose some weight. I want to get in shape. But if we don't define what that looks like, then we're gonna have a hard time accomplishing it. And so sometimes it's like that could be fine to just lose some, but if we really want to stick with it, we want to make it more of a permanent thing in the subconscious. So clearly defining goals. And part of that is also when we go from wanting something, we'll start with that want before we go get our goal. And we can't want and have at the same time. So that want implies an absence. But then there's this point where it clicks and we're choosing the goal. And we're moving towards it like, this is what I'm doing. This is what's happening. And then before you know it, you're being the goal. You've made it. And it's just the way things are. It's just part of life. And, when I think back over my life and like looking at that, I remember, before I was a hypnotist, going back to a kid, I wanted to be a writer. And, of course, I wanted to do creative stuff. But, and then I gave up on that. Life happens, right? Move on. And when I went to grad school, I started doing freelance work to, supplement. So I had some income while I was doing that. And I'm like, wait a minute, I can actually do this as a job. I achieved my dream. I was a writer. I was making a living doing it. It wasn't a great living, but I was doing it. And now I hate writing. I had a lot of resistance that came up to sitting down and writing anything. Um, it's why I just kind of ramble when I'm doing these. I'm not planning much out. I'm just going with whatever pops into my head because I don't want to write it down. I still don't like doing that. It's not as bad though. I mean, like there was a point where I'm like, okay, I'm just sitting down. I'm going to write some stuff. I sit down at my desk and the subconscious story kicks in. It's like, this is what you did. This is the same desk you sat at doing this thing that you hated. And a lot of resistance came up. And I took the easy way out and I gave that desk to my daughter and I got a new one. But, and it was a lot easier to write then. But I had to change that. But the thing was, I didn't have it clear in my mind of what it looked like and therefore how I was going to get there. So for years, I wasn't pursuing that dream of being a writer. I was doing everything else. And then when it did come up, I was doing stuff I didn't like. I was doing stuff I didn't want to. Then when I decided it was time to change, I didn't know what. I'm like, "Okay, I can't keep doing this." And, then I remember I'm like, somebody suggested that I become a hypnotherapist, and I'm like, "Oh, wait, yeah, that helped me with my anxiety." And when that happened, it clicked in, and it seemed like it was a very quick thing for me to dive into, all those years ago, but it wasn't. It was just something, like, I just went through that. I chose it. I chose it, and then I just did what I needed to do to become it. And that's why I'm here talking to you today. And I can go back even further than that to college when me and a buddy of mine did a comic book. And it started, it was something we talked about, and we were bored, and it's like, okay, I'm gonna write the script. I'd mail it off to him, he'd do the art, send it back to me, I'd put it together and take it and get printed. And we weren't thinking about it in terms of like, oh, this needs to be successful or something like that. Obviously, we wanted it to be successful. We wanted to sell it, and by a number of markers, it was. But it was just something we did. It's like, this is happening now. This is what we're choosing, and I had a clearly defined what was going to look like. I'm like, it's going to be printed. It's not going to be a mini comic. It's going to be an actual comic book printed that goes sits right on the shelf along everything else. So that was it. But only one more thing that's important, because I have some cats to go feed here. Maybe I'll be back before New Year's, but because one of my goals is mastering the mundane, so I still have a lot of things to do around the house today. But one of the most important things when it comes to reaching our goals, to achieving our goals, is we have to be happy in the now, exactly as we are. If nothing ever changes, we have to be just as happy with ourselves exactly as we are now, and love ourselves now, even if nothing ever changes. Can we love our now? That's an important thing. That's huge. That's probably the most important thing. And it's really important that we have that feeling in relation to our goals. And that was something, I feel like with my work with my synkinesis and self hypnosis, I had to sit down like, okay, if this doesn't change, if I can't do this for myself, can I still be happy with who I am? And I had to do a lot of releasing, a lot of self hypnosis work in there, and bring up these stories, and like where I thought that maybe I had accepted it, but I was really just in a place of resignation. And once I did the work through it, and I went into true acceptance out of resignation and being like, yes, I love myself exactly as I am, even if this never changes. And even if it doesn't, even if I can't make it happen through hypnosis, I can still help people feel better about themselves. I can still be a better me, because, like, we never stop growing. There's always work to be done. And I can still keep doing that, and I can still love myself just as much, even if it never changed. And when I could honestly, truly say that and feel it, and even like look in the mirror and laugh about it, that was when I saw big progress happen. And that's true with any of our goals, because when we let go of the resistance to it and we let go of those stories and those patterns that we tell ourselves that keep us from doing it, from just going out and doing the thing, when we're free of that, anything is possible. And yeah, so that is probably all I've got for now. I think. Yeah, I might pop on and do a guided release later to really ring in the new year. No promises though, but if I do, I hope you'll join me. And either way, happy new year. I hope you all have a good one. Go to resolute.ebhypno.com, check it out, and I hope you'll join me in 2024 for the next workshop. I'm massively expanding it, and we're going to go through it, and I'm going to show you how to write the goals. I'm going to show you how to do the releasing on the goals and get to that place of courage and eliminate the feelings, those negative stories that come up. If you feel like it's too much, we're going to find ways to make it easier. And that's something I'll be able to work with everybody on. So I do hope you'll join me, and happy new year, everybody.